Hello, SPCers. This is Steve Lapkoff, and I'm going to be giving you the third and final tutorial on how to resize your images for image competition. In this instance, this image is a long and thin image in landscape mode. And as I've told you before, we need to have our images at 1920 by 1080 at a resolution of 100 dpi for proper submission for image competition. The way this works in Photoshop, as opposed to the other two applications we've already done, which was Lightroom Classic and Bridge, you can set things up very specifically in many different ways. The first way you could do it is to go into image size and change your image size. And you'll notice here I'm at 300 dots per inch, and I'm at 36 inches by 10 inches, which is roughly 1:3. And I say roughly because it's probably off to some degree. But what you could do here is you could change this down to 100, and that changes the resolution. And as I bring that down, and then we want to have this pixel set, so I can bring this down to 1920. Notice that when I go to 1920, the resolution changes automatically on the height to 549. And that's because the maximum width in this case is 1920. And it proportionally shrinks it so that the height is only 549 pixels. That actually is correct. If I hit OK and save this image as is, and I'll blow it back up so you can see it, we then have to go under File, Save As, and save a copy as a JPEG, and we can pull this off and rename it. In this case, it might be called Color Print Salon Class, in my case, and give it a name, Milky Way Arch _Lapkoff. And that would give you one way of saving the image in that form. And I would save it at the highest resolution, 10 or 12. Doesn't really matter at that point. But that's the way to create your image at the right resolution. There's another way. So I'm going to go back into Photoshop, go back to history, and go back to open, which is the original size of the image, and put it back in the center. And this is basically reverted back to the very beginning. The other way to do this is to use the export function, and you can use export as. And export as will bring up a little work area where you can then set all these parameters in one fell swoop and do it pretty straightforward. So as this loads, and you're seeing it's taking some time to load because I've got a lot of applications open on my computer, we'll be patient here for a moment. And here we go. So right now the image is 59 megabytes. And what I want to do is I don't want to save it as a PNG file. I want to save it as a JPEG. I want to change the resolution to 1920. It brought it down in this case to 548, which is basically the same thing as before. So now we have 1920 by 548. We don't need any metadata, and we want to convert it to sRGB. And I can then click export, and it will say save it. And I'll just put this on my desktop this time under example exports and rename it CPS for Color Print Salon _Milky Way Arch Lapkoff. And that is how to convert it, and it will save it, and you're done. And in this instance, it actually does not change the image resolution in the native file. That's still where it was. That's so you can create it and still work on it if needs be. But that's how you do it. We're hoping that you can make our lives a little easier by ensuring that when you do submit images for image competition, that you do resize them properly and name them properly so that the staff behind the scenes who are getting things ready for image competition can do this with minimal work. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.